It's another edition of the Muck&Grind Show at muckandgrind.tv. Here's your hosts, Caleb Morgan and Brian Tramontina.
Welcome, friends. You've made a wise choice joining us here on the Muck&Grind Show. We're on muckandgrind.tv. I'm your host, Caleb Morgan.
I'm Brian Tramontina.
We're going to jump right into this thing. We got a lot of talk, especially about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
And let's go here. They had a coaching change this week. Ron Wilson gets shown the door. Randy Carlyle comes in. Do you think this was a good move?
I think this is a smart move. Carlyle was a winner as a coach, a winner as a player, led the Ducks to a Stanley Cup before. Obviously has some history with Burke. They had to make a change here eventually, and I think this was a smart move.
Yeah, Brian Burke said that he'd never seen one of his teams ever be in such a tailspin that they couldn't get themselves out of.
Yeah.
And what he's talking about there is in February, the Leafs won their first 3 games. After that, they won 1 the rest of the month. They went 4-10 in the month. Yeah. Just horrific. They couldn't get themselves out. I don't know if they sort of lost the coach or the coach lost the team there. Wilson's message wasn't getting across. But with that sort of run and you're sort of sitting around, they said they were sitting about 8th comfortably before they went into this, and then they're dropped down.
Now they're down to like 11th or 12th right now, I think.
Dropped down. Yeah. That's a tailspin there. So he brings in a coach he knows that won a cup, and he said, Randy Carlyle is more on the same page that he is.
Yeah.
When they won a cup together as him, Burke is the GM, Carlyle is the coach in Anaheim in 2007, a lot of people say they fought their way to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Carlyle's on the same page. He likes a physical game, physical players. Ron Wilson, Burke said, is sort of that's the only difference between them. And Wilson doesn't like that kind of a game. This season Wilson had 29, 28, and 7 record. It's not good enough for a
mediocre,
team with so many expectations.
They never really had a goalie. You kind of can't really blame the coach on that. But you bring in a new coach. Carlisle was a pretty hot commodity.
Yeah.
If they don't make this move now, maybe some other team signs him. If you know the guy you want, you got to pull the trigger sooner rather than later and bring in who you want.
Yeah, and Burke did again say, he said even if we missed the playoffs this year, a move had to be made because of the tailspin. And B, I didn't want a coach where his first day on the job was the first day of training camp, because then you got to ramp up and get the coach familiar with the players and vice versa when the season starts. So at this point, he's saying if this season's lost already because of what happened in February and because of what our goaltenders have been doing, then let it be lost. But we'll get a jump start on next season.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you don't make the playoffs this year, but at least you're building something this year. You're getting a system in place with a new coach, getting the players and coach on the same page. And the best case scenario, maybe they catch fire here with a new coach. We've seen teams do that before. Penguins were out of the playoffs a few years ago, bringing a new coach. They go on an insane run and win the cup. That's not completely out of the realm of possibilities.
No, and we see that happen a lot, where a team will be underachieving, and at some point, the coaching change is made. The big move in hockey for a GM, make the coaching change. Pardon me. You saw it happen, like you said, with the Penguins, where they won the cup.
Yeah.
The Flyers did the same thing, where they got rid of John Stevens 2 years ago, brought in Peter Laviolette about a month before the season ended. They went all the way to the finals. Within 2 games of winning the cup, they lost to Chicago. I mean, it happens. Crazier things have happened. And Carlisle's won the cup before.
Yeah, but he's a veteran coach. He's a winning coach, like I said. And the other thing, the fans in Toronto are happy about this.
Oh,
after all their chants for fire Wilson, and Burke obliges.
Yeah,
and gives them credit.
I cannot believe that Burke says that influences his decision. How many chants and stupid things have happened at games where players get yelled at by fans? So that's gonna. So like I said, they're gonna. The fans in Boston love to chant at Phil Kessel. So now, what are you gonna keep Kessel out of those games in Boston? You can't do that. Just because one time they chant "Fire Wilson," he says, I didn't want him to go through that again, so we're gonna make the coaching change. I felt bad. And
fans in Toronto are crazy. Maybe they throw waffles on the ice.
Yeah,
well, they
and banana peels.
Start serving waffles now because the fans want that.
Yeah.
But hey, Burke, maybe he's just the only one who's honest enough to admit it. Maybe this plays into any general manager's mind.
Yeah, that's really crazy. I mean, if the fans' vocal opinions at games do influence GM's decisions, then what are we talking about here? So fans, if you ever want to see a coach fired or a player traded, just start chanting at the game. Go nuts.
Yeah, Burke's definitely a character. I mean, go along with that, another character, Don Grapes Cherry.
That's right.
Him and Burke have had some run-ins, and they had another one here. As you saw on Hockey Night in Canada, Don Cherry kind of went off about Ontario players for the Leafs. What do you think about that?
Completely ludicrous. But I mean, this is Don Cherry. This is what he does. We've talked about him on the show before. This is what he's paid to do. It must have had record ratings. And whether he's knowingly doing this to sort of boost his own profile and ratings, which he's probably not, or he's just this crazy, which I think he is.
I think it's a combination of the two.
It gets the ratings. Everything in the United States on Twitter, when this was happening, Don Cherry was trending. In the United States, that many people watching Hockey Night in Canada, because this was such a huge thing. He's nuts. We have this statement here that we're gonna let you listen to what nuts things Don Cherry said. All right.
And it's a funny thing, though. Here's what kills me. Burke goes to my bosses and says, I'm a bad guy because I said something vicious, I think the words were, about his coach. 2 weeks later, he fires him. Figure that one out, folks, with Burke. And he said, well, we have a tough time here. Every team has 5 guys come in from Ontario. Now, I'd just like to tell you, there's more people come from Ontario, hockey players come from Ontario, any other place in the world. Anybody want to argue with me? I'll tell you, more than anybody. Guess every team in the National Hockey League has a guy from Ontario except one. Guess who it is? It's Ontario's Toronto Maple Leafs. It's the only organization in the world, in Toronto, in Canada, that cheers when Canada loses. And it's an absolute shame.
Don freaking Cherry.
What a guy.
What kind of a statement. I blew my mind. This first time I heard it, I didn't hear this line. Toronto is the only place that cheers when Canada loses. He said that. It was the second or third time I heard it that I actually comprehended he said this. What the hell does that mean, and what is he talking about?
I don't know. I actually watched this live. I happened to be watching that game, and I was like, wow, these are some amazing points he's making. But then if you actually do the research, most of it's wrong.
Oh, is that right? Tell us how wrong it is.
Well, there actually are no Ontario players playing for the Leafs now.
Which he says the only team in the league.
But since Burke took over, they draft all kind of Ontario players. Now they draft the most. So the guy before, Ferguson or whatever his name was, didn't have Ontario players. But now Burke comes in and does it.
Burke, that's right. I heard
so he's completely wrong.
Burke came out and said, since I took over as GM, we have drafted the most Ontario players.
Yeah.
So it's completely ludicrous because here's why. First of all, A, it doesn't matter. B, there's a reason why Canadian players don't want to play for the Leafs and the Canadians. Because of the media. It's insane, as we're seeing here.
The media likes to just start trouble. They don't care about covering the team. They just want to start trouble there.
It's insane, and players know they don't want to play there, even if they grew up rooting for those teams. Third of all, it's completely insane because Burke, as for the last 2-3 years, has gone after every huge free agent, including Brad Richards, including players from Ontario or wherever the hell they are, and they're just not signing there. He's throwing boatloads of money at them, trying to get that roster built the way he wants, trying to build a winner from the ashes of a terrible franchise that it was before he got there. He's slowly building the way he can, and he's drafting the Ontario players.
Yeah. I mean, they drafted Kadri. He was from Ontario. There's a bunch of guys. But,
But he's in the minor, so he doesn't count.
He doesn't count. He'll probably doesn't think he's going to make it ever.
Don Cherry, moron.
Yeah.
Anyway.
For the most part.
How about, Alex Ovechkin. Let's talk about...
Speaking of morons.
Let's talk about a player here who we've talked about the same thing before. Benched, so to speak, in a crucial period against the Flyers. Flyers win this game 1-0. Ovechkin sat for 7 straight minutes after committing a turnover and having a half-hearted attempt to block a shot that ended up as the only goal of the game.
Yeah.
What do you think? This is the second time we've seen Ovechkin bench this year by the second different coach. What of the captain and highest-paid player of the Washington Capitals?
Well, you know what? I didn't even notice he was benched because, usually when he's out there anymore, you don't notice him anyway. So I just thought he was taking normal shifts.
Absolutely right.
But seriously, he's not a factor half the time out there anymore. He did make a completely that was a bad play that led to the goal. That was not a good play, and he was benched. This new Capitals coach though is bizarre. Their own team admits that they don't even know what's going on half the time. They don't understand even their own system anymore. But that's beside the point.
Maybe they're just not that bright.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. To play for that team, you don't have to be. But yeah, they benched him. I mean, that's unfathomable 2 or 3 years ago when Ovechkin was dominating the league.
Yes.
And now, I mean, it's just
he's a shell of his former self.
It seems like like the norm almost now.
With Crosby out, Ovechkin should be the star of the league. He's not. He's got 49 points in 62 games. If he's not at least a point per game producer, there's something wrong. He should be far above that.
Yeah. He was on pace for like what 150 one year, like something completely insane like that.
Exactly as you said. He's sometimes not noticeable out there. He's a shell of his former self.
Yeah.
He only played 16 minutes in that game in a 1-0 game. He's your highest paid best player. There without Backstrom with a concussion, so he's got to be out there dominating. But I don't hold it against Hunter for benching him because he was benched before Boudreau we talked about earlier in the season, which was that fat bleep comment he allegedly made on the bench. And then now the second coach is benching him for a similar thing, but it's not working.
So it's not. I mean, it's not the coach. Then it's not like he has some kind of beef with the coach. If both coaches are doing this to him, I think with the last time he was benched, they didn't put him out there for a pool goallie, and they scored.
Backstrom scored it.
The people who were out there scored the goal. Yeah. So hey, I mean, maybe these coaches are onto something. I mean, if they don't make the playoffs, there's going to be there has to be some kind of serious change. They have to fire that McPhee. They have to fire.
McPhee's been there forever.
They have to go a new direction if they don't make the playoffs.
Well, my theory on the Capitals and trading players is that they were going to get rid of Semin this year because remember all that happened in the offseason, teammates talking trash on him. Yeah. They were going to trade him this year. However, when Backstrom got hurt, was out for the year, you can't get rid of Semin then because then you're left with just Ovechkin and whoever you get back. So they were handcuffed. You couldn't say we're going to get in the playoffs. We're ninth right now. We're going to get in. We don't have Backstrom or Semin.
Yeah.
So they figured let's just hold on, wait till the summer and Backstrom gets better. So that kind of handcuffed them, and I don't think they were able to do anything because of that injury.
Yeah, they still think they have a chance to make the playoffs, which I guess they technically do.
They're in the hunt here. We're going to take a quick time out here. We'll be back in a second on the Muck and Grind Show. Welcome back, muckandgrind.tv. You've made another wise choice staying with us. I know it's a long show, but deal with it. It's the internet.
Yeah, deal with it, dog.
You can pause it. Come on, dudes. Anyway, last night, or when was this? Tuesday night, we saw two linesmen in two separate games get shoved a little bit. Not over the top. Nobody got punched or really knocked over. Not brutal. But we saw Jordan Tutu. I think we're seeing these clips right now. Jordan Tutu shoving a linesman after he got inadvertently elbowed in the face. Yeah. And then Orlov just goes nuts, like trying to rip himself away from a linesman, gives him another shove. And we're going to see no suspensions on either of these allegedly, or no discipline. Yeah. What do you think of this?
Well, the Tutu weird because Tutu is out of control a lot of times. He is kind of a cheap shot artist a lot of times. And normally I would think, you hear about this, you're like, oh, Tutu, suspend him. But the ref punched him in the face. It looked accidental, but he definitely hit him in the face. So, I mean, you kind of give him a pass on this. This Orlov dude, I don't know anything about him. He's just, whatever. But he definitely pushed the ref. I feel like his was almost worse. Like, he was just, refused to be restrained. Yeah. And then he pushed the ref or the linesman. I mean, I feel like that one was worse than the Tutu one.
But you're saying you don't think either of them should be disciplined, not even a fine?
I think a fine. I think they definitely should have got a fine. I think Orlov should have got maybe more because the ref punched Tutu in the face. I don't.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Tutu has a history. As you said, he's completely mental at times. Yeah. And Orlov probably doesn't have that same history. So this is a subsequent discipline situation for Tutu, I believe. Yeah. Sure, he got inadvertently elbowed in the face while the ref is trying to break up a scrum. How many times have you seen referees and linesmen get punched in the head because a player refuses to stop when they're trying to break up a fight or something?
True.
So does that mean just because they inadvertently get hit that the linesman should punch back? I mean, come on.
Players should start fighting linesmen. The ref raves off your goal. Chris Kunitz should start punching refs.
Ratings will go through the roof.
I would love to see it. I think it's the next step in this game. Trying to build the game.
Yeah.
Have the players fight the refs.
Yeah.
I'm for that.
Yeah.
On the record, I'm for that.
Of course, that's a bold statement, bold stance to make. I mean, if this is the era of Shanahan this year, and he's saying no supplemental discipline because the linesmen didn't write down in their little game sheets that this was either was abuse of a linesman or referee, then I'm sorry, a little shove, you got to have a little more, you got to have a little more discouragement from the league saying that's not acceptable.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed. I feel like these Shanabans have gone downhill since the beginning of the season. It seems like people are getting away with a lot more. I don't know if there's any kind of stats on this, but it seems like less people are getting shorter suspensions, lower fines for doing the same things they were doing earlier. It's almost like just like calling penalties after the lockout. That was, we're going to call all this stuff.
Yeah.
Nah, not anymore. Oh, we're going to suspend everybody. Nah, not anymore. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah, well, it does happen. We get closer to the playoffs, and some of the rules go out the window.
Yep.
And the league usually steps in and says, all right, let's start calling these things again. I don't know. It seems like they haven't done it to this point.
Yeah, it seems like they're kind of cool with
But
this.
either way, shoving linesmen is not cool. Not cool, dudes.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
All right, Jets, we saw this late last week. The Jets get a 5-on-1 break against the Florida Panthers. Divisional game. The Winnipeg Jets trying to catch the Panthers first in the division in the Southeast here. They get a 5-on-1 breakaway for a goal. How could the Florida Panthers allow something like this to happen?
This looked like a video game. This looked like somebody playing NHL hockey on the easy level, and you just go down there. All the Panthers pinched in. They came off the 5-on-1. Good thing they scored, or it would have been even more embarrassing.
Yeah.
I mean, they made a nice play and scored a goal. What can you say? It was a bizarre. I've never seen it before, but
This is like it looked like the weird breakaway drill in the All-Star game skills competition. Except even then they only have 3 players on the goalie. Yeah. This was 5-on-1. I mean, ridiculous. This brings to light though a stat. Right now, currently, the Southeast is a combined minus 109 goals. There is not a single Southeast team that has a positive goal differential. Every friggin' team has given up more goals than they've scored, and not by a small margin. 109 combined.
This is the first time in a while, though, that it's really been the Southeast. Usually there's one or two.
It hasn't been like that for a couple of years.
There's been some good teams. They've had some cup winners, teams going to the finals, stuff like that. But yeah, they're bad this year. This is to the point where you want to finish 6th. So you can play one of these.
I want
teams.
my team to have the 6th seed so bad because you know what?
Yeah.
Because right now, if you finish in the lower 4 in the East but not 6th, you're either going to play the Rangers, the Bruins, or the Penguins. Because those are the 1, 2, and 4 seeds. Yeah. So pick your poison. Let's go with the 6th seed and play the number 3 Panthers.
Bruins are Cup champs, obviously, but they seem to have been. They seem to be falling apart here, too, it seems
they had that great month of November, as I said then, or was it December, where they lost 1 game or something, as I said then. Yeah. Well, it's a long
6
season.
or 7 is better than 4 or 5. It definitely is. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't want to play the Bruins first round, though.
You got to, and to win the cup, you got to beat the best anyways. Doesn't matter what order you play.
You do. However, though, that an easy first round matchup goes a long way towards your longevity in playing 4 rounds and winning. It happens. You have to have a short, quick series somewhere along the way. Yeah. You have to, and that's one up front.
That's a good point.
The East is a beast this year, unlike the West.
But, the East is good.
The West is good. They're usually the best. But let's move on here.
Let's move on here. Some other bizarre plays here.
Yes.
A pretty bad dive by our good friend Max Pacioretty, and a great a comical moment with Setaguchi biting it. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this?
We've got these running right now too. Max Pacioretty. Whoa! I've never seen a Montreal Canadian take a dive in my life.
Man.
Never. No. This is the first time ever. I mean, the dude gets hooked a little bit coming across the blue line. He belly flops onto the ice.
That was a Greg Louganis play right there.
Belly flop. You can't do that. This is complete. You're an embarrassment. Yeah. They should suspend for dives. I don't even think he was called a dive on the play. Maybe he was.
The ref is standing. The crazy thing is, you see the ref is standing right there. Just doesn't care.
He just
lets the whole thing go.
Unbelievable. He stops on his feet and leaps into the air.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. If you're not going to get a penalty for that, Shanaban that. Get that out of the game.
Hey, that's
no excuse.
That's the Canadians, though. They're becoming an embarrassment. With guys like Pacioretty, Subban, just slew-footing everybody constantly. Like these guys.
Well, they can't win, so they got to do something.
These guys are scum this year.
Setaguchi, I feel a little bit bad for because while it was pretty funny and it kind of ended the shootout, he falls down in his attempt, loses the puck. I remember last year when we saw Ilya Kovalchuk fall down in a shootout attempt. And then after that, he tore it up and scored a wicked goal in his next shootout attempt.
Yes, Stamkos fell in a shootout attempt, or maybe it was a penalty shot, but it was one of those things, and he bit it, and obviously he's recovered. I mean, we both play hockey. You lose an edge sometimes. You fall down sometimes.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, even the best. Even if nobody's out there, you're trying to do a slick move, really use your hands and feet, use your edges, really deke out the goalie. Yeah. This is a normal game situation, so you're at half speed trying to do things that you need full speed momentum to do sometimes. Yeah. So I feel bad for the gooch there, but Pacioretty, that's embarrassing. That's one of the worst dives I've seen all season, and we can't have it. We cannot let this in the game.
Turn into soccer. turn into soccer.
That would be unacceptable.
Yeah,
Unacceptable.
I agree.
How about your good buddy Connor Chris?
Oh yeah, my real good buddy. I thought this was former baseball outfielder Coco Crisp at first.
How many Erie Otters games have you been to this season?
0.
Okay, well, you should have been at this one because OHL Connor Crisp, a forward for the Erie Otters, who was injured anyway, I believe, had to play backup goalie because they dressed one goalie. The other one was hurt, so they dressed Connor Crisp, a forward, as a backup goalie.
Yeah.
The starting goalie gets hurt 2 minutes in. In comes Connor Crisp, who's wearing not his own skates that he says are too small for him. He gets absolutely lit up, falls over a number of times. I think the final score, they give up 13 goals.
Yeah.
But after the game, they gave him the first star.
And he deserved it.
Yeah.
Do you know how big a goal is? 6 feet
4 by
wide.
6.
That's pretty hard to get in front of. I feel bad for the guy. You know, I mean, he gave it his all. He went out there and tried. Why don't they have another goalie? Why can't you sign some weirdo from like some beer league who's at least knows how to play the position? Like,
Yeah, precisely.
I just don't get it. And it looked like the other team knew that they only had one goalie and hit the starting goalie intentionally.
I thought
they went at him. They went at him on purpose there. Yeah.
It looked intentional as well. But yeah, we've seen it in the NHL emergency basis. I think the Wild did it earlier this year. They had a 50-year-old trainer dress in emergency basis during a game because the backup couldn't get up from the minors quick enough for game time. He never played, but you've got to get somebody who at least plays goalie.
At least
Chris says he hasn't played goalie in ice hockey since he was about 5 years old.
And he was like just flopping. I mean, he made a couple of saves, but you'd see it like he'd make a save and then fall backwards. It was
completely.
Poor guy.
Seriously, he had to be embarrassed a bit. But they gave him the first star of the game. The other team came out and really went right to him and shook hands with him and gave him pats on the head and stuff, which had to make it feel better, but they didn't ease up at all either.
But you can't ease up. It's a real game that counts. You have to try to win.
They were winning 13-2 or 4 or something.
Pad your stats.
Yeah, they really did pad their stats there. We're going to be back next week, muckandgrind.tv. For Brian Tramontina, I'm Caleb Morgan, Muck and Grind Show. See you next time.
Tune in next time for another episode of the Muck and Grind Show. Or check out past episodes anytime at www. Tune in next time for another episode of the Muck and Grind Show. Or check out past episodes anytime at www.muckandgrind.tv.